Hello, hello, hello. Welcome back to Joe Daddy's Garage. It is Monday, July 25th, 2022. And guess what? It's raining, which is okay. It's okay. We could use some rain. It helps keep the heat down and clears off, dirt and dust and all that stuff. It's in the air. So I'm not disappointed that it's raining. We had some good storms over the past couple weeks and some pretty good, heavy stuff. But right now we have a mild, just rain. So I hope everybody's doing well. I'm doing okay. I think I pulled a little muscle in my back earlier today, so I'm a little a little uncomfortable, but I think I'll be able to go through the stream tonight. And if you're new to this, you haven't seen this before, we try to talk about classic cars, and it could be, the focus tends to be on Mustangs if we do focus on any of them in particular, but we may talk about Mustangs and Camaros and Chevelles and Mopars and whatever. Doesn't really matter. But if you have a question, we ask, hey, ask your question. It helps to have input from other people, and we can a lot of times resolve a question or a problem that somebody may be having. And if you do have a good question and we can give you an answer, you get a bell. At least the person who gives the answer gets a bell. And sometimes I can just give random bells. So there's several bells there. You can just pick one for yourself. There you go. Let me also show you something, and this will come up later, I think. If you're a Steelers fan, which I am, I was born and raised up in Pennsylvania, so at least for 18, well, probably 20 out of my X number of years. But if you're keeping up with any of the interest in the Steelers and logos and all that stuff, their field was named Heinz Field after Heinz ketchup, right? Well, the big news is they're changing all that to some bank or something. One of those things where somebody's going to throw a bunch of money at it, so you put their name on the stadium. So I made up these T-shirts. Now, this is my error shirt. This is a mistake that I made. If you've kept up with the Steelers, you know that there was a player on the team named Heinz Ward, right? So Heinz ketchup, Heinz Ward, it sounds exactly the same. So what I did is I had some of these T-shirts made, just two of them, to test run these and say that it's always going to be Heinz Field, like after Heinz Ward. But I made a mistake because his name is Heinz, Hines, not Hine apostrophe S. So my plan was to make it Hines apostrophe. So I was in a hurry. And I had these made on Teespring, and I fixed it. They're corrected now. So I have two of these in my error shirts, and I just think it's funny. You may not, but I think it's funny. So I think it will always be called Heinz Field. No matter what name they put on the stadium, it'll always be called Heinz Field. But, hey, that's corporate America and wanting to put their name on something that's deemed as important. So anyway, hope you're all having a good night. Let's talk about some things. Again, I ask you to participate, come up with some, if you have some questions. I saw earlier that Jerry wants to join in, so I'm going to go for a little bit, and then we'll get Jerry an invite and go from there. Let me see where we're at. So first one in, Terry Keithley. Evening all, and Barry, please hit the like and thumbs up for Barry. Thank you kindly. Yes. See? Terry gets a bell for that. Rick, always liking thumbs up. A good couple of hours about to begin. I hope I can go a couple of hours. We'll see how it goes. Give you a bell for that. Troy, adjust it. Happy Monday, fellow motorheads. I hope all are well. Thank you, Troy. I hope everybody is doing well. Yeah. Thank you for that input. Junker Clunkers. Hello, everyone. Well, hello, Junker. David and Cheryl, evening from wet Missouri. Just Cheryl here. Well, you get a bell, Cheryl, for being here. Thank you for participating. I hope you are doing well. Junker Clunkers. Sunny, a little humid up here in New Hampshire, but otherwise good. Okay. Let's see. Okay. I'm getting messages on my phone. I'm trying not to let it distract me. David Cheryl, don't forget to hit thumbs up. Yes, by all means. So David and Cheryl or Cheryl is talking to Junker Clunkers, so they're going through some conversation there about cars, Junker says he's got a channel and have a 66 Mustang he's restoring. And David and Cheryl bought a 64.5 convertible Mustang. So kind of going back and forth there a little bit. So let's see. Jerry, good evening all from Middle Tennessee. Glad you're here, Jerry. Let's see. And Jerry saying, Barry, I would like to go on the stream to show the progress of the 66 Mustang. We will get you on here, Jerry. So a few more things going on with Cheryl and Junker. I'm just going to not read through all those. It's kind of a side conversation. Let's see. Clark Clifford is present. Clark, I had a conversation with a friend of mine. He, we always talk about Christmas, the Christmas movie, Griswolds, right? And save the neck for me, Clark, and all that sort of thing. A friend of mine had some pickled turkey gizzards. And I was thinking about the Christmas Vacation movie as soon as I saw those, because that sounds like something Cousin Eddie would dive into. But yeah, pickled turkey gizzards. Apparently that's a thing. Greg Blinko. Hi, Greg. Whoops. There you go. Let me give Clark a bell too. Okay. Glad you're here, Greg. Jeff Reynolds. I was just checking in to see if it was raining with you too. Yes, it is raining. Probably the same rain. Probably. Troy, it's sunny in East Georgia today. Well, it was nice, but now it's backing off a little bit. It'll probably rain just enough to raise that humidity just a little bit more. You know how fun that is. Robert checking in. Afternoon all, just another typical 106-degree summer day. Yeah, I still don't envy you. Glad you're here, Robert. Give you a bell. Fast Shelby. When you're spot welding fender aprons, etc., what size holes are you drilling? Okay, typically, a lot of people would go with a 1/4-inch hole. I don't like to use a 1/4-inch hole. I like to go with 5/16, just because. Whenever I think of a 1/4-inch spot weld, that is not a very big spot weld. And by the time you start welding and your weld starts to pile up and build in there, you're probably not really getting a 1/4-inch of spot weld. It's probably smaller. So I go 5/16. Gives you a little more room. And then when I'm spot welding, you can do it two different ways. You can start in the center and burn in a spiral out to the edge of the circle, or you can start at the edge of the circle and spiral in, whatever works for you. But I prefer a 5/16. So good question. Thank you for that. Ray Buckman, good afternoon, everyone. Hope you're doing great, Barry. Well, thank you, Ray. I'm glad you're here. Give you a bell. Crash Rider, greetings from Southern Indiana. Give yourself a bell for the clever installation of Bluetooth onto the radio and Jade. Everyone be sure to hit the thumbs up button. Yes. Thank you, Crash Rider. Yeah, that was better than I expected it to be, honestly, putting in that Bluetooth radio. And the applications for that. And now there's different styles and different looks for those. I liked that one because it was really small. It didn't take up much space at all. And, you could have probably, if you wanted to, I wouldn't do it, but drill a hole in the side of the little box on a console. I wouldn't do that. I would rather hide it inside and just not worry about that space anymore. But if you had a more modern style console where you could have a bore of a hole in there and drop it in, pretty simple hookup. Really simple hookup. And I was talking to Roger about this next door, that I may even order 2 or 3 of those things and just keep them on the shelf. And if I decide I want to add it to something, boom, it's right there. I don't have to wait for it. But it's really a big improvement over what was in there. Let's see. James Wright. James here from Canton, Ohio. Glad you're here, James. I don't know if you've been here before or not, but we'll give you a bell. Let me see if... Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and get the invite set up for Jerry. So let me get this. Okay. So I'm going to send that to Jerry. We'll get him on in a minute, and he can show us the progress on his Mustang. Clark, Barry, you're an apostrophe madman. Hey, it makes sense though, right? It's a play on words, and maybe people will like it. I don't know, because it won't be Heinz Field anymore. Jeff, Barry, your error shirt reminds me of our kids' error cake. No, we've seen that a lot. I know we've had cakes made, or cookie cakes, right? You go to the local grocery store, and sometimes the cake decorators aren't the best. We've had some happy birthday. I think it was I don't know which one it was. One of our kids, happy birthday, Shane, and they put like happy birthday, and then they ran out of room, so it was like SHANE running off the side of the cookie cake. So it's yeah, it's pretty common that they don't make it right. Junker, she's a beaut, Clark. Yep. Colin, what's up, everybody? Hello from Ravenna, New York. Standstill on the 66 for a bit. Standstill on the 66 for a bit. Too many other projects. Yeah, I know how that is. Yeah, and the 66 that's still around, I'm not working on anymore. And I don't know why it's still here. Honestly, I don't understand why it's still here. Ray, that's too hot, Robert. Yes, it is. Harvey checking in from New Jersey, Raleigh Cat Garage. Glad you're here, Harvey. Haven't seen you in a while. Give you a bell. Ray Buckman, we've been in the mid to upper 80s this week, much better than mid to upper 90s here in Colorado. Yep. Jerry, I use a 5/16 for plug welding. I agree with Barry. Yes, thank you, Jerry. Jeff Reynolds, Barry, your error shirt reminds me of my kids' error cake. They ordered it themselves from a local baker. Told them it was for my birthday, and iced in blue writing, it read, "Happy birthday, Patty." Okay, so should I call you Patty from now on, Jeff? Is that your new name, Patty? That's funny. David and Cheryl, just letting you know that for the windshield on a 64.5 Mustang, it does use screws. Yep, that is correct. Yep, 64 first generation Mustang, whatever. They use screws to hold on the trim clips on the windshield frame. So I'm not sure exactly when they transitioned to the little post, but I know the first cars had screw-in trim clips. Junker, I too have a channel, was wondering what the best way to get people to know you exist is. Well, it depends. If you're doing like sincere, dedicated work like me, don't do it my way. Because I have a great group of people that follow me, but I don't get the tremendous overload that YouTube wants to promote other people, like people that are crashing stuff or breaking things or destroying and doing crazy stuff. Those are the ones that get, they get all the accolades from YouTube. Like, oh, look at this. He's destroying this. He's destroying that. And I don't do that. So if you want to do that, that's one thing. But I try not to. I want to focus on helping people with their projects and giving them an understanding of what they can do and should do to their classic cars. So, good question, though. But I have a love-hate relationship with YouTube, honestly. Tomas, hi Barry and y'all. Tom from San Diego, as I hope you are all well. Question is, why is my 302 overheating? Would it be a bad Autobrock Performer manifold? Anyone have the same problems? There could be a variety of reasons. It could be the thermostat, could be the radiator, could be the timing on the car. If you have a timing set, I think which way is it? To advanced. So it could be a variety of things. So we don't know what, I don't know what all you've done to the car in this instance. So you might want to give us a little more information. But that's a good question. James, it's been a while since I've been here. I have a 66 Mustang that my son and I have started to restore. was going to send you a video. We couldn't figure it out. Okay, well, what you can do, James, I saw your question earlier. I didn't get a chance to respond. You could either send me, I don't know if you want to just send me a video, like you want me to watch the video, or if you want to do like a viewer's project, which is cool. I would love to create a video and put you and your son on it, showing the viewer's project. And so if you're interested in that, you can send me an email. And my email is, let me get up here to find it. Whoop, it's under banners. There's my email at the bottom of the screen, joedaddysgarage@gmail.com. So if you do that, I think I have a Dropbox set up. There's ways you can do it through the Gmail server thing. But you can do it and send me something that way, and then we can try to work on it. But I'd be happy to see it. Rick, that's the 65 didn't like 98 degrees heat the other day and got too hot in traffic, have to improve the cooling. Yeah, these cars are hard to keep cool, honestly, in my opinion. Crash Letter, any news on the 56 or update on Camaro parts? Good question. Apparently, the company received the frame from the 56 and they fixed it. What that means, I don't know exactly. They say they fixed it. And so it's back on a pallet. Should be here tomorrow. Should be, but we all know it's FedEx. So it could be next week when it's FedEx, and it could be smashed again. We know how that goes. On a Camaro, I have made contact with AMD again, and I asked what's going on. We'll get back to you. That's basically all I got. So I don't know. On that side of it. But we'll see. At least, hopefully, the frame gets here for the 56, and I can jump back on it. Good question. Rick, Barry, if you drive a junk Mustang 500 miles, you'll likely get views. Yeah. Well, the thing is with that, and I've talked about this before, that's that other channel. To me, it's kind of a joke. Like we had our junkyard. And I can tell you, we had cars that sat in that junkyard 20, 25, maybe even 30 years. Most of them drove in there, which is like what that other channel does. They know these cars already, they've been driven in. And they'll just fix it, get it, put battery, change the oil, whatever they want to do to dramatize it. But it's the same thing. We would start up cars all the time at my dad's junkyard and just drive them. A lot of times they weren't junk because they fell apart. It was just junk because they want to get rid of them. So I know that people enjoy watching that sort of thing, but that's a whole different angle. Ray is asking Thomas if the radiator is clean. So that's a good question. Good question. Troy, my 65 uses screws instead of posts also. I thought it was odd. Yeah, so yours is probably an early 65. Because I think they, like I said, they went some 65 or 64, I know, and then it carried into 65 somewhat. POV Adventure, what's your dream car? That's a great question. And that's a really hard one to answer. It really is a hard one to answer because growing up at my dad's junkyard, we had so many cars, right? Now, I will say my dad had a 69 Mach 1 that I loved. It was Acapulco blue. Typical when you think 69 Mach 1, that's the one that pops into your head. The Acapulco blue with the black and gold stripe down the side. Anyway, I always loved that car and wished I could have had it as I got older and stuff. So that's probably really, really high on my list of dream cars. Now, there are some days where I would happily have a Unimog. If I could afford to drive a Unimog everywhere, I might do that. There's all kinds of crazy vehicles out there now. I know there's some, I can't think of what they're called. They've got those, I don't know if it's made in Russia, Ukraine or something. They have those, it's an off-road vehicle with great big giant balloon tires on it, but the body's on it like this long. And they show them going off-road and through lakes and all kinds of stuff. Sometimes that's a dream car. Sometimes my dream car is a 53 or 54 Studebaker Commander two-door hardtop. I love those cars. Beautiful cars. Sometimes my dream car is a 67 Plymouth Belvedere. Why? Because I had one when I was a teenager. Sometimes my dream car is a 72 Chevy 4x4. And sometimes it's my little Honda Fit that I drive every day. It's really hard to give you a good answer on that. That's a great question. I don't know that I've ever been one to be completely satisfied with any vehicle that I've just kept and owned, or one I can't get rid of this one kind of thing. But I guess that's where I'm at right now. Junker, in tearing my 66 apart recently, I found a quarter from 65 hidden under the rear package tray. It was definitely put there. No way it could have fallen. I've never found an Easter egg, but I'm very happy about it, or on it. Okay, that's cool. That's cool. I've talked about this a couple times. This could be, I'll bring it up again since you brought that up. I'll make a quick little junkyard story. And I've talked about it before. I know you probably heard this one. But, thank you, Junker Clunkers. Gave me a little tip there. Thank you, bud. Appreciate it. I'm going to go back up and just talk about, since you brought that up about the quarter, that you talking about never found like an Easter egg. One of the coolest things I found was in probably a 66, I think it was a Fairlane. I'm pretty sure it was a Fairlane. And, we would tear apart cars at the junkyard all the time. It could be pulling doors, fenders, interior, seats, whatever. And in this particular case, I had to pull the driver's side or passenger side door panel off. It was a 4-door car, I know that, and it was dark color. And I had to pull the door panel off for something, whether it was to get to the glass or whatever, but that's what I did. I pulled that door panel off. And when I did, I turned around the door panel, and written on the inside of the door panel, somebody had drawn a turkey, this big turkey on it, and it said, "Happy Thanksgiving." And that had to be done at the assembly line. So I thought that was kind of cool. And you don't just see, nobody's going to pull off a door panel and write that and put it back on the car. But anyway, glad you found a quarter. Alex, hey Barry, do you have an interior for the Camaro? What are your plans for it? I have seats. That's all I have for that car. I don't have any carpet. At least I don't think I do. No headliner, no door panels. I don't have any of that stuff. All I have is the seats. The car itself, when I get it all put together, I'm going to sell it as a shell. At least that's my goal, is to sell it as a shell with all the pieces and parts that I have for it. I do have all of the sheet metal. I even have I don't have a cowl induction hood. I have a flat hood. But I do have the rear deck spoiler. And I think I have the air dam for the front. A few other odds and ends that I have with that car, but I don't have anything more than the seats for the interior. Good question. James, video sent to your email. Okay, cool. We'll check that out. And I don't know if Jerry... I sent Jerry an email. Pretty sure. Yeah. I sent Jerry an email. I got a picture here. Oh. Mike C has sent me a picture. So I'm going to have to get that pulled up here quick. Hold on a second. If I have enough space in my computer. Got to delete a couple things. It's always a little run around to get everything connected. Okay. Junker. I'm a very honest man. My channel is very family oriented. No smoking mirrors here. Yeah. You'll see. There's never ever has there been, at least in my direct videos, never any cussing. Something may have slipped in from somebody else who was on a live stream and may have said some things, but mine, I don't do that. It's just not worth it. Not worth it. I want everybody to be able to enjoy it and learn something. Charlie Seidelman checking in. Hello, everyone. Give you a Charlie Bell. Rick Stevenson. Hello, Barry. Hello, everyone. Hi, Rick. Junker, awesome live, man. Thank you. Appreciate that. Thomas, new 20-inch aluminum radiator, new thermostat. Okay. How are the, let's see, so what's the temperature on the thermostat? What's the setting on it? Because I haven't resolved everything with Jade yet as far as temperatures and what it runs. And also point out, well, maybe I shouldn't. We had a couple weeks ago, we had problems with people getting in here. Some clowns got in and were like trying to ruin the whole live stream. And then last week I adjusted it so they had to be subscribers to get in. And we had a couple show up at the very end, so they had to just subscribe just to get in. So if you're watching a live stream and you want to join in and it won't let you, it's because you need to subscribe to the channel. Just letting you know. That's where we're at. Trying to keep the riffraff out. Aaron says Sherp. Okay. Jerry, hi Barry. Wait a minute. My dream car would be a 66 Mustang that Robert will finish someday. That sounds awesome. That sounds awesome. And I'm sure he will. Once it cools off and he can get back out in the garage. Rick, a friend had a Unimog. It got hit when parked by a Civic and was totaled. They probably totaled it because they probably couldn't get parts for it. Like, that has such a weird drive system on it. I don't know how bad it was hit or where it was hit, whatever, but it's probably, you just couldn't get the parts for it, so they just scrapped it. Let's see. Her Scrambler says, Thomas, fan shroud. Does it have a fan shroud? Okay. Let's see. Junker saying no. Oh, that's awesome. Yeah, talking about the turkey on the door panel. Giacomo, I have a 1999 Honda Civic with 205,000 miles. Is that still good? Yeah, sure it is. Just keep changing the oil in it. That's the main thing. Keep up with the maintenance on it. Keep driving it. It's hard to beat those cars. Her Scrambler, the pic was from me. Okay, so here's the picture that was sent. Nice. He says he's moving on to the next project. Yeah, I've always had a soft spot for those cars too. They're cool, but they're also weird looking. Just be honest. I mean, really. They're cool looking cars, but they're weird looking. And I think it has to do with the way the angle on the back is. They didn't want to copy the Mustang specifically, but in a way it copies the Mustang, and in a way it kind of has some Camaro vibe to it. And AMC, you can't build everything the same. Like I think most of us realize that like the Challenger, the Dodge Challenger, all that was a modified Camaro. Really, if you park them side by side, you're going to go, oh, it's a Camaro with some harder body lines on it. That's really what Dodge did. They just copied the Camaro. Just like Chevy sort of kind of copied the Mustang. Sort of kind of. But the Javelin, or AMX, sorry, that's kind of another hybrid between this and that type of car. It makes you wonder a little, when you look at the angles of it, it's almost like, could they have shortened the windshield a little bit, made it a little lower in the front? Would that have changed? Because it almost looks like it's going uphill slightly on the roof line, at least in that angled picture. But I do like these cars a lot. They're really cool. They're really cool. And you don't see them on the road very often. Thank you, Her Scrambler, for sending that. Rick, of course you have a variety of engines available for the 68 Camaro. That is true. But I don't know that I want to go that far. Because once I start, then I'd have to complete it. Like, actually do all the paint, all that stuff. And I don't know. I don't really want to go that far. Jerry, the security has changed and I'm having a bit of a problem. Okay. So, when you say security, okay. I don't know. I don't know how to fix that, Jerry. I don't know what's going on because it should allow you to come in. I don't know if it's affecting it from StreamYard, is causing a problem or not. I don't know. I've not tried this since I modified the subscriber thing. Junker, I may from time to time. I forgot what we were talking about. Bob Shoemaker, late to the party, but here. Glad you're here, Bob. What about Bob? Rick, why do people have to be beep holes and try to mess up the stream is beyond me. Yeah, we've talked about that. I don't get this either. Junker, it's a Honda. It's not even broken in yet. Yep, that's a good point. Junker, how would I send you a pic? Oh, you have to do it on my email. So it's emails at the bottom of the screen. joedaddysgarage@gmail.com. You got to make sure you spell it just like that. Joe Daddy's Garage. Not Patty. Not Patty's. No, not Joe Patty's. Joe Daddy's. Yes, thank you, Cheryl. Send it to my email. Giacomo, my driver's side window recently broke. What do you think I should do? Is it easy to replace on a 99 Honda Civic? That's really shouldn't be a hard one to replace at all. You could probably go to a U-Pull-It Junkyard. They should be able to sell you that glass for really like $15. You got to pull the door panel. If I remember correctly, it's been a while since I've done one of those. There should be two 10mm bolts, I think. I could be wrong, but I think two 10mm bolts that hold it onto the track system. And basically, you have to have the window, have to run the regulator down, take the bolts out, and then kind of fish it out of the opening. So I would just go get one from the U-Pull-It yard. Doyle, front looks like a 70 Camaro split bumper. It does have that look to it. To a sense. They're different looking cars. Different looking cars. Hurst, thanks for showing it. You're welcome. Ray's asking what size engine is in that car, Hurst. I'm guessing a 390. That's my guess. Junker, I sent a pic to your Instagram. Okay. I'm not going to be able to connect to Instagram while we're doing this. I mean, I can do it on my phone, but that's not going to help. Okay, yeah, it says to send a photo. Okay. Her Scrambler, 390. Hey, who said it? I did not read that. That was my guess. Harvey says, Junker Clunker, you have one new subscriber. There you go. Good deal. Ray Buckman, I've heard that that's a good engine from AMC. As far as I know, it's a good engine. Should be. Jerry says, Barry, I cannot get logged on, so let's pass. That's strange, Jerry. I don't know. I'm sorry about that. I don't know what's going on, why it won't let you do that. Seems like if you try to stop one thing from happening, it affects everything else. So I could turn that off, and it might let you in. I don't know. Sorry, Jerry. Rick, I think you can disassemble the majority of a Honda with a 10mm wrench. That is pretty accurate. Giacomo Sudoku aftermarket. You can. I'm just giving you an easy out. Like, I don't know what an aftermarket glass costs, but I have no idea. But you can do that. They're built just pretty much the same. There's not much difference between there. So I was just thinking, like, the cheap way out is to go to the U-Pull-It yard and just get one. But if you can order one for $50, $60, it's worth it to you, go ahead. That's a good price. I don't know what they go for, though. Alex, is there a secret to getting straight body lines when block sanding? Even when using painter's tape, the lines aren't great. You know, that's a great question, Alex. And I can't say necessarily that there's a secret, but depending on what you're sanding, right? what you're working on. Like if I'm doing a door, if I'm doing a quarter panel and I have a good door line, that tape, I don't even use tape, to be honest. I don't use tape. I'm going to use that door line as a guide. And a lot of times I will just plane down the door and look at where the line is going. Also, when I'm block sanding, I never, like I have a video, it's one of my most popular videos now is on this channel, body shop tips and tricks or something like that. I forget what it is exactly, but I have a car that I'm working on that has, it's SUV, but it has complex angles. I mean, you've got the radius of the fender well opening that I'm working on. So you've got a radius going this way, right? It's on a curve. And then you have that curve coming down off the fender. And then you have another flat coming straight down. And then that fades off into the door. And it's very complicated. And I talk about how I do that. Whenever you always work in one plane. And what I mean is, if you got a door that has, whatever, you have your angle, and this is your top, say door or fender line, whatever, and this is the other line. I only work on really one plane at a time. Block sanding, crisscross, block sanding, crisscross. And I can look down the side of the car and go, okay, I see it's a little high or a little bit low there, and I massage that down, work that angle, get it as straight as I can. Then I'll work up. And what happens is it almost naturally creates the crisp, clean line that you want. Now, you may have to do it a couple times. Sometimes I might take off a little too much material, start over, wipe it down, start again, add more filler. But I never try to do part here, part here, part here, part here, and hope for the best. I want to create that plane first and then work the other one up to it and try to match that line. It takes practice. It's not something that you do automatically. Just like block sanding is, crisscross. It's always crisscross. Then there's some back and forth, but just crisscross. And then what that does is it forces you to follow the shape of the car. Now, the only person that I've trained, let's say, who was really only did it a couple times, but was really good at it, was my daughter. Because she was young. She was probably 12 or so, maybe. I don't remember exactly. And when I told her, we were block sanding a car. It was a collision work. And I did the body work on it. And I said, okay, when you block sand, when you're going back and forth, and as soon as you see the color change, as in you're using, let's say, Rage, and it's green, and it starts to, you can see it turn lighter, like it's almost going away, you just stop. Because anything at that point, you're going to bare metal. And you don't gain anything by going to bare metal. And she did exactly what I told her, and that turned out perfect. There was no issues. And it's because she had never had anybody influence her before and say, oh, just keep sanding it till it's all gone, which is what we tend to do. A lot of people will block sand, and they can't stop themselves. They see bare metal, and they're like, oh, no, I got to keep on. No, I got to keep going. And no, it's not it. Stop it. Get the bare metal and stop. Just before bare metal, honestly. But hopefully that gives you some insight as to different ways to do that. Good question, by the way, Alex. James, do you have a preference on buying Mustang parts, body panels, frame rails, etc.? I used to. I used to go directly to Mustangs Unlimited up in Atlanta, and I would hand pick my parts. What I mean by that, there may be 5 different quarter panels there, and I try to find the one that didn't have any damage to it, or tail panels, or whatever. And that's what I used to do. Now, I haven't ordered really much in the way of panels in quite a while. The Jade Mustang, I already had all that stuff here that I had bought a long time ago, and it was just sitting, waiting. But anymore, I'd probably go to NPD, CJ Pony, maybe Kentucky Mustang. And then you have to argue with yourself, what's the better deal? Somebody asked me this earlier, is buying a $75 tail panel the same as buying a $125 tail panel? I don't know. I'd have to see them side by side to tell you if there's a big difference or not. And that's just not. I don't have that capability. I wish I did. So I don't know if that answers your question, but that's where I'm at, James. Good question. Dawn, hello everyone from PDX, 98 degrees. Ooh, 98, that's pretty toasty. But you probably have a lot more humidity than Robert does. Bob, if you go to a U-pull it, at least you see how to get the glass out. That is a valid point too. You can make all your mistakes there. Giacomo, I also have a Toyota FJ Cruiser with 263,000 miles on it. Still runs like I bought it in 2007. Yep. I like those. FJ Cruiser? Yeah. I like those a lot. Keep on driving it to keep doing the maintenance. Figured out. Question about Jade. I noticed when you had the quarter off, you didn't bother with the surface rust on the B-pillar bracket that welds to the wheelhouse. Any reason why? Let me think here. B-pillar, yeah. It's not a concern, honestly. It's just not a concern. Some of us get caught up in that whole aspect of I see rust or I need to sandblast this and whatever. That car currently is 54 years old. Metal will rust and actually act as a protectant. Metal will rust to save itself in effect. So the rust that's inside of the quarter panel, that's just surface rust. That's not pitting. That is not from salt. It is not from road salts. It is not from the ocean. It is just natural occurrence. Bare metal, and just it'll flash over with rust, and it's done. So there's nothing. I mean, it doesn't hurt. You could go back in and blast it off if you wanted. You could cover it with Pour 15. You could use some sort of grease. Whatever you want. But I don't see any value in it. Unless somebody's going to go in there with a mirror and be checking out, making sure there's no surface rust on anything, you don't gain much. But I'm not against it. Don't get me wrong. I'm not against adding paint or any of that stuff. But I do see people that they go to kind of the extreme on that, and they'll blast it and undercoat it and paint it, and that's fine. That's fine. But in my case, I just don't see much to gain from it. But that's a good question. That's a good question. You probably have seen over the years, if you've been following along, I've had cars in bare metal for years, sitting in here, just sitting, and unless you take it outside where it can get some moisture, rain and whatnot, and the sun and elements beating on it, it'll just stay bare metal. It really doesn't affect it. Figured out also, thank you for the Jade video series. Huge help with my restore. Oh, you're welcome. Nick says hello. Hello, Nick. Hope things are going well for you. I haven't seen an update in a while, but you can send some pics if you want. But I hope things are going well with your project. Glad you're here. Give you a bell, Nick. Doyle, I have some pitting that was under the trim on the older quarter. I keep that area. Other than fast edge, how can I make sure it won't reoccur in paint? Okay, so you had some pitting that was under the trim. Oh, okay, in the old quarter. Other than fast edge, how can I make sure it won't reoccur in paint? Well, a couple things you could do. You can media blast it if you wanted to get it to bare metal, and then put epoxy on top of it. And that way you're just seal it up, you're done with it. Another thing you could do is use some metal conversion with phosphate or whatever, and treat it, clean it off, and make sure it's ready to go, and spray it again with some I like to use epoxy. Self-etch is fine, but that's really what you need to do is make sure that there's no rust that's going to, down in the pits, or if there's any pitting, you get it all cleaned out real good. Even I use wire wheels sometimes, dig out whatever's in there, and then apply whatever I'm going to use, whether it's epoxy or phospho, whatever the chemical etch material is. So hope that helps. Nick, working on wiring and getting ready to paint, firing it up next 2 weeks, hopefully. Oh, well, that sounds awesome. Yeah, now I'm trying to remember. You were going to paint it. Weren't you going to paint? No, I don't want to guess. So I know you had sent me some pictures before. I don't remember. Mine is wanting to say like a burnt orange, but I don't remember if that's correct or not. You can correct me if I'm wrong, Nick. Please do. Thank you, Rick. Coffee. Dawn. That's great, Nick. Yes, it is. And Dawn, I haven't got a chance to watch. I saw you had a video out on the True Track differential. And thank you for answering the questions on the differentials that I have for the extras that I have, the 4 9-inch rear ends. I still haven't counted out the teeth to see what the ratios are and whether I just want to swap out one of those and be done with it or not. But I probably should. But we'll see. Nick, yes, it's a BMW color. So was I right? Burnt orange? Some sort of burnt orangish something? Cool. Okay. So what else is going on out there? I know that there's other projects that people are working on. Okay. Oh, Cheryl. In the late, we were talking about the trim clips on the Mustangs. And she had mentioned that the early ones had the screw-in trim clips. And she's commenting that in late '65, they went to the post, the spot welded post that was in the holding the trim on. So thank you, Cheryl. Good information. Nick, don't know the spelling. Sakhir. I'm not even going to try to say that, Nick. We'll say orange. We'll stick with orange. That seems to be a good good one to go with. Figured out a question about bottom door rust on a 66. I'm thinking any repair that I do to the bottom will at least be temporary as the source is likely inside the door. Any advice? Reskin, new shell. Thanks. I try to save as much of the original doors as I can. If I have the option, then I can patch up a rusted door. I will try to do it. Now, when you say in the bottom, is it in the door skin itself, or is it in the bottom structure of the door? I've done several repair videos on how I fix those doors. I did one on the front curve where it comes back up. I did one on a 70 Mustang, and I did one on a 66 or 65. Okay, so you're saying pinch weld of the door. Well, if the structure of the door is good, and Robert actually has on the Infernal Craftsman right here, his channel. Look up the Infernal Craftsman. He has some video. He did a video on redoing a door skin. I would prefer to save the door structure itself and reskin it, because I've had hit and miss with aftermarket doors. I just haven't had the best of luck with those. Now, they may have improved in quality. I don't know. But I know the ones I've had issues with. So Robert reskinned the door, at least one door on his car, and he said it turned out fantastic. And I believe him. He said it fit well, and it wasn't that hard to do. So if the structure of the door is good, and it's really just the skin, you can reskin it. Now, I've also patched the lower corner. A lot of them rust in that front corner. I've just cut it open and cleaned it all out and put a patch in there. So consider the options there. But good question. Don, right before I joined tonight, I dropped my dash and the bezel busted into pieces. Oh, no. Oh no, that's not cool, Don. I'm sorry to hear that. So much for OEM. Well, you can get a shiny new one and put in there, right? It's one way to look at it. Robert, going to be looking for a 327 rear from an Explorer for the Mustang when it cools some. Yeah, I forget. We talked about that specific years for that rear end. Because I know at some point they went to the independent type of thing. So I forget what the years are, the breakdown for that Explorer rear end. James said, good question, figured out I have the same issues. Yes. Yeah, check out Robert's channel. He did the skins. He says the skins fit very well and are affordable. He reskinned both of them. And he rebuilt the whole corner of one of the doors. So check out his channel. He's got some information on there that you can look at, and he'll probably help you out with your question. Ray Buckman, still buying stuff for the vet. Mirrors, door windowsills, and some more tools so I can get ready for paint next spring. And because it's been so hot, haven't taken the front suspension apart yet. Well, at least you're able to, I hope you're able to get some parts. I know that's been an ongoing issue with just about everything these days. So hopefully summer's going to end eventually. Give it a couple more months and it'll start cooling down, right? Well, July, August, yeah, it should start cooling down. End of August, beginning of September. Okay, so you're talking about the door skins, all right? Yeah, and he rebuilt the whole corner. So, I know it's been hot for Robert out in Texas, and the weather here has been reasonable, put it that way, other than the rain. So, we'll see. Let's see. Wait, hold on. Robert says, I hope it ends. Yeah, talking about the summer, getting it over. Yeah. Figure it out. Do you ever have a hard time saying bye to all of your projects? No. I'll be honest. Whenever I've done, like having the body shop, we would have collision work come in and go, and it was quicker turns. And we did some restoration work. And I would basically, I've said it probably before, once a car leaves, I really don't care if I ever see it again. It's just the way I am. It's like, okay, I'm done with that one. Where's the next one? Now, the difficulty is actually getting rid of some of these. Like, if I'm doing it for somebody else, obviously, I do the work, take care of it, send it on its way. And if it's one of mine, I have a tendency to get attached to them. I have a tendency to get attached to them, and then I just like, I don't know if I want to do anything with this or not. But for somebody else, yeah, it's see ya. Not a problem. Good question. Ray, I just need some 70-plus degree weather, not 80s or 90s. Too old for that hot stuff. Yeah, we're looking forward to that time of year. It'll come. Dawn, I always have a hard time getting rid of something that I'm invested in, like Betsy. Yes, I get that. I get that. The thing with, I have a hard time finally coming to terms and saying, okay, I need to get rid of this. This one needs to go. But I've also I commented on my Facebook page. It was a joke about the average person owns 8 cars in a lifetime, is what this comment or this meme said. And I know I've written down as many as I could remember of cars that I've owned, or cars and trucks, and it's been over 200, and I've lost count. I've lost count. And some cars I've owned probably 2 or 3 times, just one of those type of things. So once I can accept the idea that, hey, I can't enjoy this anymore, or I don't want to have this around anymore, I can sell it and make it go away. But things like the Model A that I have a hard time. I don't know what I'm going to do with that car yet. That's going to be a tough one. at some point. That'll be a tough decision to make on that car. It's my grandfather's car. It'd be great to keep it in the family, but the hard part is, does any of my family really want it? Do my kids or anything like that? It's just, one of those tough decisions I'll have to make later in life. But that was a good question figured out. I don't know if I gave you a bell or not. Mike. Hello, everyone. Cleveland, Ohio. What was that? Drew Carey had a TV show. Didn't he have a TV show based out of Cleveland? Had a little opening, Cleveland Rocks or something. Was it a little song that they did or something? I think when I see Cleveland, that's what I think about. Drew Carey. Terry, is that why the BP is still around? Just can't let it go. Yeah. That's just, you figured it out, Terry. I just can't let go of that car. I am so attached to that car. Yeah, I don't know what's going on with that. It's just, I don't know what to do with any of it. I think what I'll probably have to do is file a mechanic's lien for storage, because he hasn't paid any storage fees. I've told him what the storage fees are. He hasn't paid anything, and that conversation was last November, and he hasn't paid a dime. So I guess I'll be filing a mechanic's lien. If he doesn't want to get this car out of here, then I'll file a mechanic's lien, and we'll see what happens. Because I have no interest in it anymore. I did nothing. Go, take it, go away, pay your bill. See ya. Rick Stevenson, I currently own 6. Oh, yeah, let me think here a minute. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. I think I'm at 9 right now. 9? Maybe 10. Might be at 10. Maybe it's 10. Car Guy Troy, 8 cars I had that beat before I hit 18, and know many people that had way more than me. Yep. Well, it says average, though. Who knows how accurate that is? Who knows? Don, 7 vehicles for me started with the Mustang. Well, 7's pretty good, I guess. Doyle, if you repurchased that 70 Chevy truck, would you keep it? Yeah, I would. I think. Unless somebody came by and said, hey, I want to give you way too much money for that. One of those type of deals. Like an offer you can't refuse. Then I'd probably sell it. But I would want to keep that truck. It was so cool. Hey, you're talking about, I know I have a picture of it up here. Hold on. You're talking about that truck. I do miss that truck. That was pretty cool. That was a cool truck. I don't think I have a picture of my 67 on here. Nope. Nope. I don't see it. Ray Buckman saying, hey, Don, there's always super glue. Oh, to put the bezel back together? Yeah, I don't think Don will do that. He says, oops, 8, forgot the Prius. Yeah. Well, does Prius really count? That's the question. I guess it does. It's got 4 wheels, and it drives down the road. Car Guy Troy, I have 8 right now. My insurance people love me. Yes, I'm sure they do. I'm sure they do. Dave and Cheryl. We have 2 projects. I'm sorry, Cheryl. 2 project vehicles. One is a 64.5 Mustang convertible and a 69 Ford Thunderbird, which are on hold trying to keep our daily drivers. 98 Blazer and 89 Dodge truck on the road is a big job. Yep. Yeah. 98 Blazer. That's pretty cool. Dawn, I have number 1, number 4, number 7, number 8. I'm not sure. I'm not sure where we're at with that. Oh, what are you saying? Number 4, number 7, number 8. You lost me, Don. Her Scrambler, Barry, what was your first car? Well, my first car. Now, this I've talked about this before. My first car that was like assigned to me. I'll just say that. It was assigned to me. My first car was a Matador. AMC Matador. And it was like a 74. It was a 6-cylinder car. Probably one of the top 10 ugliest cars ever made. It was black and green, and it was painted either with a brush or a roller. It was horrible. Black and green. It had plaid bench seats in the car, and it was hideous. It was just ugly. If you remember the Police Academy movies where Hightower rolls over, grabs a police car and he rolls it over, it was pretty much that car. Just ugly. Just an ugly car. And I drove that briefly. I've talked about it before. I used to take cars over an area we called the Jump. And I took that car and I got it up, like the top speed on that thing was about 62 miles an hour. And I hit the Jump and launched it. And when it landed, the whole exhaust system fell off the car. Just, and it was laying on the road. I left it there. I was 16. Kept on driving. Brought it home that night. My dad heard the car and he's like, what's wrong with the car? And I said, the exhaust fell off. He said, okay, scrap it. So that was the end of that car. Now, that's the first car that was assigned to me. The first car I owned, the first vehicle I actually owned of my own purchase was a 72 Chevy long bed pickup. That was my first vehicle that I owned. And there's a long story behind that, but that I owned that car, had the title in my name for a reason. But yeah, that was the first vehicle that I actually owned. But I drove so many cars in high school because my dad used to buy wrecks from the salvage. And in Pennsylvania, you had to have a sticker, inspection sticker on it. And he would buy a car that might have 3 or 6 months left on the inspection sticker. And we would slap a tag on it and drive it. It could have the whole right side smashed. If it ran and drove, I was driving it. So got to drive a lot of junk growing up. Dawn, I tend to keep stuff. Number 1, Stang. Number 4, GMC van. Number 7, Nissan Leaf. Number 8, Tesla M3. Okay. I get it now. I think I get it. Figured out, can't tell in the videos, you spray your cars at home. I seem to get paint everywhere in my garage no matter what I do. Yes, I do. I have this section of the shop is 24 wide, 36 long. Okay, so just under 900 square feet, 24 by 36. And then the paint booth is on the back of the building. It's another 14 feet. So the booth itself is 24 feet wide, 14 feet, or 24 feet long because it runs the length of across the building, 24 and then 14 feet wide. So that's where I paint. I've never tried to paint anything up here. I've always done it back there in that space. Car Guy Troy, how's the gas are coming? It's not. It's waiting. So I don't know if you were here in the last couple videos. We had received the new frame rail from Checkered Racing, and it was bent. It was 3/4 inch out of square, and we think it was probably from shipping. FedEx, they like to try to, if they get a chance, I think FedEx tries to damage stuff just to see if they can do it. You could probably mail a 6 by 6 by 6 chunk of square block like steel and it would probably show up damaged, just because. It's like a challenge to them. Can we break this? Well, they managed to bend the frame rails. Because I'm pretty confident they didn't leave the manufacturer guy bent or out of shape. But anyway, got them here. I started doing some cross measuring and stuff like that. Discovered that they were out of square. Contacted the guy. They said, ship it back. And I was like, in my mind, I was already thinking, I'm going to cut this thing into pieces, straighten it back out, put it back together, and be done with it. But they wanted it back, and I understand that. Warranty, guarantee, whatever. So we sent it all back. Now, it should be back here tomorrow, supposedly, Tuesday. Supposed to be. And that's assuming that FedEx does anything that they claim they're going to do and get it actually delivered. We'll find out. So once that gets here, I got to get the ball rolling again and try to get it done as quickly as I can. Good question. James Wright, do you go to any of the big car shows? Which ones? Now, when you say big car shows, I went 3 years ago, I think it was, to SEMA. And that's probably the biggest car show, at least for the idea of what they do, probably anywhere, I would say. So I managed to get to that one 3 years ago. Haven't been back since, unfortunately. But I haven't gone to any, I know there's places like the Mustang Nationals and the Chevy this and Mopar that. There's nothing generally close enough to me that I can drive to and go, I went to it. So I don't get a chance to do that very much. I go to my local stuff and just kind of hang out there. Ray, so we should see a video on it this weekend. Gastro, that is. Good possibility, yes. Yeah, if the frame shows up and it's square and ready to go, I will progress through and it shouldn't take, honestly, I've already laid the groundwork in the previous 2 videos. And I have also talked to other people who have given me some insight, ideas as to what I need to maybe approach. And to me, it's just going to be a matter of doing a few, a little more measuring, making sure everything is exactly where I want it. Whip out the plasma cutter and start hacking. Once I get that front end off, get the new one pieced in, hopefully everything goes smooth and I can piece it in. Then it's just a matter of tack welding and measuring and checking, and then, of course, adding in reinforcements and stuff like that. So we'll see, though. Hopefully it goes well. I know that I mentioned it earlier in the stream. I pulled a back muscle earlier today, and I'm kind of not feeling the best. And that's obviously this task is going to be a lot of back work, getting stuff in place. So, but hopefully it all goes well. Ray, saw those, and you did great with the tape and plumb bob. Thank you. Yeah, that's, I actually looked online to see if everybody had made some videos, and there was not much of anything that I could see. And I found some pictures. Somebody sent me some links to different things, and I had already incorporated the plumb bob and got the lasers and all that sort of thing. And I'm really happy with how it laid out. So I'm looking forward to getting things finished or cut and put back together. Hearst Scrambler, big national AMC car show in Kenosha this weekend. That sounds cool. A little out of my way, but that sounds cool. Hope you enjoy yourself. Shane, first car was a 72 Scamp, 318 with posi rear and dual thrush exhaust, no tailpipes. I never did hear the radio in that darn thing. I could get that. I understand that. That was funny. Back in the early 90s, I was racing in Pennsylvania with my brother. And at the time, I was driving a giant car. It was actually the first car I had up there was it was a copy of the Blues Brothers police car, the Plymouth Fury 3 or whatever. And I painted it up like a police car too. And it was just a trainer, really. It was just a battle tank. And so that car did okay. And then the next year, I built a Chrysler Newport because my brother didn't want me driving Chevys, just because. But I built a big Chrysler Newport. It was a two-door, though. And that car, what was funny about it was it had a perfect exhaust system underneath it, dual exhaust on that car. It was perfect. There was nothing wrong with it. And we decided to not, we cut the mufflers off, but we put in pieces of straight pipe. So we had dual exhaust on this race car with straight pipes all the way out the back. It made for some interesting sounds when it was out there racing around. Ray, I'm going to Ford Fest this weekend in Denver at Vandermeer Speedway. That sounds cool. That sounds cool. Ford Fest. At first, when I read that, I thought you said, my mind was picturing something else. Like breezing through that real fast, I had another thought in my mind that you were driving at Ford Festiva at Vandermeer Speedway, thinking there was like a road course type of thing, and you were going to go out in a little Festiva. But I like it better the way it is written than what my mind processed. Cheryl, my first car was a 1988 Mark. Oh, maybe Lincoln. I'm guessing Mark II is what you're trying. It says Mark It, but I'm guessing maybe a Lincoln Mark II. I'm guessing. I don't know for sure. It was a big boat of a car. Yeah. Well, that's the way my stock cars were. They were big boats, and they made it really hard for people to pass. But that was about it. They were one had a I forget what the police cruiser had in it. I think they both had 400s in them. But they probably weighed 1,000 pounds more than the next car or the car right next to them. They were ridiculously heavy. And if you ever try to race on a dirt track and you've got just a heavy tank of a car, you get the momentum going down the straightaway and you turn that wheel, it doesn't want to turn. You got to like really fight with it to try to get it to drift around. It's just not worth it. Get a small car that has a good horsepower and can take the turns. Let me see what else we have. Oh, okay. So I have to share an obligatory Robert photo because he likes to torture me. So I'm gonna have to share this photo just because. Send me an email. It says dinner time. Look at that. That is just wrong. That is just wrong. No, that's not what I wanted. Let me get rid of that. Okay. Thanks, Robert. Thanks a lot. Appreciate that. Man. Oh. I would eat that whole thing. Just saying. Ray. My first, which I missed, was a 65 Mustang Coupe. Lasted almost a year before it got wrecked in the rear by a drunk GI. Yeah. That's I'm sorry to hear that. I actually had, not even when you mentioned that, we had a Mustang, but we had a young guy working for us at the body shop, and he wanted a Mustang. And his dad found him one, and it was a 6-cylinder car. Pretty sure it was a 6-cylinder car, and it was original. Like, it was a solid original car. Wasn't super fast, and he was trying to do some just little fix-ups on it and stuff like that. And it was so strange because I just happened to be in our little town. There's a parts store on the right, let's say, and the road travels north. And I happened to be at that parts store, and he was traveling north in his Mustang. And it was a somebody was turning or something. It was in a 4-lane road too, and somebody was turning, and I just walked out of the parts store, and I hear this brakes, pow, and some guy slammed into the back of that Mustang, and I actually saw it happen, and of course I knew the car, and I knew the kid, and I went running up there to check on him, and I think the seat had flipped back, and when he got hit, it crunched the back of the car and then pushed the nose into the car in front of it. And in the end of it, and after it was all said and done, the insurance company paid him off some big bucks on that car. I mean, I want to say probably at least 10 grand he got out of that. And this was back in 2006, somewhere around that range. Wait, let me back up a second. Yeah, somewhere around that range. So you got this big settlement. The guy who hit him was drunk driving, and he had like 2 kids in the truck with him and smashed into the back of this Mustang. The kid that had the Mustang ended up buying a V8 car, the V8 Mustang, burgundy maroon color with a black vinyl top. Really sharp car. He put nice tires and wheels on it, and it turns out the floor pans were hacked. I put new floor pans in it, made it solid for him, and next thing you know, he was out driving the car around with his girlfriend and probably showing off. I don't know for sure, but he went into a curve and slid off the road and rolled it. And if you go, they're on my Facebook page, my Joe Daddy Facebook page. He rolled that thing through a fence, and a fence post actually went through the car and just missed hitting him. But it mangled that Mustang. Just mangled it. It was done. It was totally done. So he lost 2 Mustangs, and he's never had another one since. I know that for a fact. Let's see. Robert, I'll have to make a trip out and cook some on your grill. Yeah, that would be great. David Sherrill, the Thunderbird has a 429 Thunderjet. That's a cool, they always had that cool Thunderjet, that sound, the names of those engines back then. So that's pretty cool. Doyle, my first car was a 64 Ford Custom Coupe, 236 cylinder with a 3-on-tree, paid 150 cash from working the summer in 74. That's pretty cool. That's pretty cool. Ford Custom Coupe. That's cool. Ray, wow, I saw the guy coming, so I tried to pull in a parking spot, hit the gas cap, pulled both sides in. Yeah. Unfortunately, they're being a unibody and all that. They can't take a hit very well like that. But that's how it is. Ray Buckman, I love the nose on the 69 and /70 Thunderbird. Cool cars. I was thinking when I think Thunderbird, we've talked about their first cars that Ford, 55? I think was the first Thunderbird. Corvette came out in 53. Thunderbird in 55. And it was strange that it went from a small sports car, basically, when you look at the first generation of Thunderbirds. And those are full frame cars, too, if I remember correctly. Because I know somebody who has one, and it's sitting in his garage. But it was a frame car, and they were kind of like a sports car, honestly. 55, I don't know what, 56, maybe were similar in size. 57 and 58, I know 58, 59, they started growing. They started getting bigger, had fins on them then, and all that stuff. And I remember up at my dad's junkyard, we had I think it was a 58 Thunderbird. And I always just thought it was so cool looking with the fins on it. And when you open a door, and it had all this chrome, it was like stainless steel, and the big grills in the front and all that sort of thing. but it was just a cool looking car, kind of like the Batmobile in a sense. But then they started getting 59, 60. They went from a little sports car to a bigger vehicle, and then a transition. I don't know exactly when. My mom had a 64 Thunderbird, so I don't know. 60, I can't picture like a 62 or 3. Yes, I can. I can kind of picture those because at some point they had like round taillights in them. And then they started making them, kind of flat in a sense. Like the 64 was a very flat car. The deck lid, the hood had a little bit of a bulbous look to it, but kind of a flat car. 65 and 6 probably followed suit in that sense, and then it kind of got turned into a big car later on. I know in the 70s they turned into a really, really big vehicles. I think the Montego, the Mercury Montego and the Thunderbird. I think they were parallel on their builds. I think, and then of course you go all the way up into. They started to get smaller again sometime in the 80s, and then they were racing them in NASCAR. And I had a friend who had I think probably an 83 or 84 Thunderbird. Really nice car. And they drove it, I don't know how many miles they ended up putting on it. I think somebody finally wrecked it for them and took it out of their family. But then, they started looking at the early 90s guys, Bill Elliott and Donnie Allison racing those Thunderbirds, which were more built for the track. That's whenever NASCAR was like, well, we'll just build a true style race car and make it a street version, right? So there's a lot of transitions over the years for the Thunderbird, and then of course that last attempt they made. I don't know exactly when it was, sometime in the 2000s, when they tried to make a retro Thunderbird. They got close, to looking like the original. But I was always surprised why they didn't pursue it more as the sport car that it was kind of meant to be. I think the one they built in the 2000s was just kind of a passenger vehicle that was like a luxury two-door kind of maybe thing. But it seems like the name Thunderbird, turn that into a race car, make it cool, make it fast. But I guess they're done playing with that idea, at least as far as the Thunderbird goes. Ray, they got way big through the years. Yes, they sure did. Doyle, 58 was the first big car referred to as the Square Bird. 58, 59, yeah. They were still cool looking, but they were big. Tom, can you recommend anyone who's willing to help me finish my son's project? I would like to try and have it done by end of November. He will be graduating from nuclear weapons school. 70 Mustang Coupe. I don't know. Where you it depends on where you're located, honestly. I can't really help you I don't know where you're at. I mean, I know some people live in different states, but I don't know what their schedules are and stuff like that. Doyle, 67 was the only year that had 4 doors. Yeah. Didn't they have suicide doors on them? I think they had suicide. I want to say they had suicide doors like the Lincoln. I think. Ray, I think it's because they had the Mustang. Well, that's true. But still, I don't know. I would like to have seen them do something special with the retro design. When they went back to that copy in the first style, the first generation, it would have been cool to make kind of a muscly Thunderbird out of one of in that era. But then it was later on, in the 2010, 12, 13, or whatever, where they started building the super high horsepower stuff, like the Dodge had the Hemis, the Challengers that are making 800 horsepower and all that sort of thing. The Thunderbird could have been in that realm as well. Could have. Yep, Ray says right. Okay. Robert, the Thunderbird could have been Ford's vet. Valid point. Very valid. Because really, the first Corvette, 53, and I think Ford was jumping on that bandwagon, try to follow that, and then they just kind of went off the rails. Corvette kept getting more sleek and lower and cooler, whatever, and the Thunderbird didn't. It didn't. David Sherrill, yes, ours does have them. Okay, that's cool. It's a unique car. I mean, when you normally when you picture or envision a Thunderbird, you don't think about that. The fact that they had some of those with the four doors, and the suicide doors is a unique touch. Like I said, the Lincolns, all the big body Lincolns. Now they did make some two doors as well, but they had the big Lincolns that had the suicide doors. In fact, I put one of those in a demolition derby. It didn't do well. Didn't do well. But it was fun while it lasted. It was fun while it lasted. Me and Roger put one in a demolition derby, and it overheated pretty quick. And I think I sold it to somebody there for like $100 or something. Just take it. I don't want to haul that thing home. Okay. Well, I can feel it. There's something in the thing in my voice keeps acting up. The thing in my throat keeps acting up. Car Guy, Thunderbird was a personal luxury car to start with, then got huge in 58, 59. The 61, 66 were good looking cars. 62 Sport Roadster is a way cool car, has a tonneau cover to cover the back seat. They had some cool options. They really did. I know my mom's 64 had the slide away steering column, which was, I think if you find one of those in a Mustang, that's like a super rare option. I've seen some advertising. I've never seen one myself. I've seen some advertising, like actual old commercial advertising for the Mustangs, where they showed one of those, a slider steering column. I don't know that they actually produced one or not, but if you had one of those, that would be a rare, rare, rare option in a Mustang. I guarantee you. You're welcome, Tom. Okay, I'm gonna have to call it a night. The throat's acting up. It's been good though. We've been here about an hour and a half. We've had no clowns show up, which is awesome. That's a good thing. Car Guy Troy 67 Mustang had an option for the Fat Man steering wheel. Okay. Shane, T-Bird could have been like the Plymouth Satellite or the Buick Skylark, a regular version and a muscle car version. Very true. Very true. Okay. Well, I'm going to call it a night. I'll be back here, as long as there's nothing else going on Monday night, and next Monday. And it'll be a new month, right? It should be a new month, I believe, if I do the math right. July. 6 days. I don't know. I'm tired. So I will be hopefully get the frame here for the 56, and I can get back on it, try to get stuff done on it, and try to get a video out on that project. If you haven't already, check out the video I did on the Bluetooth setup on the Mustang. Very happy with that. I think it's just one of the coolest things I've done, honestly, at least to that car. And that'll be it for tonight. So until next time, take care of yourselves. See ya.